Hi there. I want to tell you about the Eclectic Society. And the Eclectic Society, you might be thinking, what's that? In fact, I want to tell you about how the world and the Christian faith was changed by one of these, a teapot, an ordinary British teapot. You see, I think things get changed around a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or a pint or just people coming together. And such was true of what was called the Eclectic Society. It was formed by a guy called John Newton, the guy who wrote, what's it called? Amazing Grace, and a former slave trader who got miraculously converted to Jesus and gave his life to the abolition of the slave trade. But he also gave his life to gathering people together. And they used to have a sit round at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, these guys, and they'd have a big question to debate and wrestle and answer. And they were all sorts of questions, really. And one of them, on one occasion, was the question of how will the heathen hear the saving message of Jesus Christ? That was the question they were asked. Very old-fashioned language, but I guess that's how they spoke in old-fashioned times. And from that, a guy called John Venn, birthed the Church Mission Society, a group that went overseas and changed the world, a group that birthed some of the modern mission movements. But also other people who are part of the Eclectic Society included Wilberforce, who was very much involved in the abolition of slavery, and other notable people at that time. Dr. Bernardo was a Christian, and Lord Shaftesbury, and you know, soon we saw Christians actually running orphanages, appealing and changing the law to stop children getting sent up chimneys and being missed and maltreated. We saw slavery abolished. Lives were changed by Christians thinking seriously and carefully and well and together about the issues that are facing them as believers in their society, and saying what needs to be done and what can we do about it. It was both a debate, it was both an exercise in thinking and exploration, but in that exploration, clearly the Holy Spirit of God was at work, and people were convicted, people discovered a vocation, people discovered a way of changing the world, people discovered what God was calling them to do. And so what I long to see is a new eclectic society formed of Christians just looking at the world and saying, and asking good questions, saying, what can we do? What is God calling us to do? What needs to be done? How can I respond in faith to that which God is challenging us about? You don't need to have everybody in the room. You just need to have a few people, enough to spark a conversation, enough to get your thought process going, enough maybe for, to have a few different opinions. In fact, nowadays, you don't even have to be in the same room. You could do it on Zoom. You could have an eclectic society on Zoom, and just thinking about our world and thinking about what questions does this world, just watching the news, just going on social media, just picking up a paper, what questions does this world throw up to me today? What questions would I ask? Maybe get someone else to ask the questions, because sometimes I have my own little way of thinking, and sometimes I need other people to ask me questions that make me think about things in a different way. How can we today be a new eclectic society that's not just a talking shop, but is Christians seriously and honestly and wisely and well looking at the world and saying, what can I do? Looking at the world and saying, what needs to be done? And what are you calling me to do? What's my response? It might look different for each one of us, but let's at least engage. Let's at least think. Let's at least pray, and let's at least chat and talk, and maybe even have the capacity to dream wild, audacious, and bonkers dreams. Because I believe that someone once said, nothing ever happened to the person who didn't have a go. Every idea starts as a crazy thought in the back of somebody's head at one point. But these great ideas can and do change the world. In fact, I think it was in the West Wing, but it was also a quote by Margaret Mead that says that never doubt that a small group of determined people can change the world, because that's the only thing that ever has.